Welcome to RNS Podcast. My name is Dylan.
And I'm Evan.
We welcome you to our podcast where we talk about all things nerdy.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that right, Evan?
Yes.
We're very excited today to talk to you about...
Mostly just movies, but...
just movies. But...
Should we get a new tagline?
No.
No? Okay.
No. But yeah, today we're going to talk about, what is it called? The Daytrippers?
The Daytrippers.
The Daytrippers. Yes. Oh,
1996.
A movie that I had not heard about until the day I watched it.
Yeah.
So...
It was like right after I told you, okay, let's do that.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, because you switched it up, didn't you?
Yeah. So we were going to do the Brown Bunny, but now I was like, I don't really feel like doing the Brown Bunny. So I just looked at my shelf and I was just like, the Daytrippers, I haven't watched that in a few years. Hey, Dylan, you want to do an episode on that?
Yeah, and then I was like, I guess.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know.
And it turned out pretty good because you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah.
Thanks for spoiling my thing I wanted to say.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
No,
Sorry, guys.
But, no, I actually loved it. It was a great movie.
Before we get into that, Dylan, do you want to talk about anything? Anything else?
Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 8, I think.
It came back, right? It just came back?
Second half of Season 6 came back.
Nice.
Great episode.
Oh, good. I heard on Twitter people were saying good.
Oh, I don't care what they say. I care about what I saw. And
well, I'm just saying. I've heard multiple people say good. That's what I mean to say.
And I saw a great episode.
Yeah. That's my point. It's like people are saying, "Oh, is it a really good episode?"
Well, my point is fuck the discourse.
Oh, okay.
We are the discourse.
Yeah.
We are the one who discusses.
Yeah.
Get it?
I get it.
And Evan's been watching Breaking Bad, aren't you?
Yeah, I just started. I started last week, I think. Yeah, I've been watching it for just about, I guess, almost 2 weeks. Yeah, and I really like it. I'm almost done with season 3 right now. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So for those of you who have been listening to the last few episodes, I'm finally watching Breaking Bad because we did mention that in an earlier episode. Yeah. And yes, I know I'm very late, but I am watching it, and it's quite good. I like it.
Yeah, it's a really good show.
Yeah.
I thought you were on season 4, no?
No, I'm on the end of season 3. I'm on, episode 9, 10?
Oh, okay, cool.
Episode 9 or 10, I can't remember right now.
So where are you? Hank just got shot up, right?
Yeah, so it was,
Spoilers.
The episode ended with, Skyler telling Marie the lie that, he won all the money from gambling. She tells that to Marie so they can pay for Hank's hospital bills.
Well, yeah, with Walt's, his Heisenberg money.
Yeah, And she's like, he won it from gambling, from playing blackjack. So, yeah.
And Skyler's in on it at this point, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I am enjoying it. And also, I will, once we get into Daytrippers, I'll make some connection to Breaking Bad. Yeah, so it was weird. There were, like, some weird things that happened. I shouldn't say... That's not a good way to put it. Just tiny little connections from Breaking Bad and the movie that both kind of happened within the same day. Like, the episodes I was watching, then I watched Daytrippers. I was like, oh, that's weird. It appeared in both.
Oh, well, I'm interested to hear what that is.
Yeah, so
but yeah,
I'll save that for last.
Good. Well, we'll get into that. And thank you guys, in generalmente, as Gus Fring would say, for watching. And subscribing and liking.
Of course.
We appreciate that. We've been growing pretty steadily still. So
yeah, we're almost at 200. Maybe by the time this episode goes up, we might be there.
Yeah,
sure. We'll see.
And we always get since we've broke 100, every time we release a video, we get a little bump.
Yeah. So
that's good. That's great.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate that.
And hopefully Pink Flamingos pops off a little bit.
I saw it's at over 200 views right now. It's been up for 2 days as of recording.
200 for 2 days is not too bad.
Yeah.
That could be a good sign. And this episode, there's not too much coverage, like you were saying.
Yeah.
On the Daytrippers, which was the case with Audition. So maybe that'll be lucky for us.
I think there's actually less on this than Audition.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
There's one other movie that I do want to talk about, though, for a second. Because I've seen it before its Netflix debut.
Oh.
I saw The Gray Man, yeah.
Oh.
It's had a limited theatrical release the week before its Netflix release, and I went and saw it, and I liked it. For those of you who don't know, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I am a big fan of Ryan Gosling. So I had to go check it out, of course. And it was fun. I liked it. Like I was mentioning to Dylan, so I don't think you should expect anything like too deep.
Yeah.
I know that's always not a good. That's not always a good way to start out telling people recommending a movie. But like, genuinely, it's just kind of it's just like a fun action movie. You know what I mean? It's like, don't expect like a Drive. You know what I mean? Or Blade Runner 2049 or anything like that. You know what I mean?
It's like a spectacle action movie.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Is it good for that though? It has good action and stuff?
Yeah, I enjoyed the action scenes. So if you like the action scenes in like Civil War or Winter Soldier, which the Russo brothers, they directed that also, it's pretty much on par with those. So if you like that action, I think you'll like this too.
Well, I'm definitely gonna watch it when it comes out. I think this by the time this episode's out, it should be out on Netflix.
Yeah. And it pushes it a little bit. It's still PG-13, the movie, but there are moments where they're like almost pushing it. And that's the one thing I wish. I was like, oh, I wish it was just rated R, so they could just went all the way. But I don't know, the Russo brothers. Maybe they just like taking their PG-13 lane. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're just keeping it clean for more jobs.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I don't know. I feel like they might dip into rated R.
Was Cherry rated R? It might have been.
It should be.
And I like to Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, they were both good in it.
Is Chris Evans the bad guy?
Yeah. He's kind of like he's like the psychotic ex-CIA agent. He's like a government contractor now. He like kills people for the CIA. And he's like so too like psychotic. Oh, he's crazy. And it was good, but like it's just like they don't go far enough with it. And that's kind of just my big complaint with the movie in general. It's always like it's a fun action movie, but they never go far enough. It's always like, it's like, guys, you know you're not working for Marvel anymore, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, you know. And they even said, oh yeah, Netflix let him do whatever he wanted to, and it's like, oh, well, it still feels like you're kind of like in that Marvel mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of, I don't know if Cherry was actually like rated R in its contents.
I didn't see Cherry, so I don't really know.
I didn't see Cherry either. I know they put the Tom Holland's asshole, which is, that's pretty rated R, but I don't know outside of that. Was it like, was it rated R?
I really barely even know anything about it.
I don't know, but hopefully, they realize that they're not beholden to Disney all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty, like Sam Raimi, like he's not, they hired him and he's not fucking making PG-13 movies all the time. So.
Well, but then again, he hasn't directed a rated R movie since Drag Me to Hell. No. Because he hadn't even directed anything since he did the Wizard of Oz movie. That was the last time he actually directed until Doctor Strange.
Which you didn't see, did you?
Doctor Strange?
No,
Strange.
Wizard of Oz.
No, Wizard of Oz I did not. That's one of the Sam Raimi movies I have not seen.
Well, guess what, Evan? I've seen that one.
I know you've seen it. You told me it wasn't that bad, right?
So I'm a bit of a cinephile and you're not.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Nah, but the Wizard of Oz movie was okay.
Yeah, I'll probably get around to checking it out eventually. That and For the Love of the Game, I think, are the only Sam Raimi movies I'm missing. Yeah, so I'll see them eventually. Actually, no, I haven't seen A Simple Plan either. I gotta check that one out.
Oh, really? You haven't seen that one?
No. I have the DVD, but I still have not watched it.
That one's on my list. On my list.
So I'll get around to it eventually. So there are 3 Sam Raimi movies I'm going to check out.
And there's 3 Sam Raimi movies you all need to check out. Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and then watch our podcast on it. But you most definitely have seen those movies already. They're extremely well
greatest
known
film
and popular.
of all time as well. So, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so Gray Man... What do you give Gray Man?
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Solid action film.
And there was one other film. We're getting to Daytrippers, I promise. We saw Minions: Rise of Gru,
which was awesome.
It was a good time.
So unlike Gray Man, the Minions movie is a bit more involved.
It's a bit more cerebral.
It pushes the material a little further.
For sure.
It challenges the audience in a way that Gray Man does not. And a lot of modern blockbusters do not.
Certainly.
And I think... No, it was fine.
it was better than Lightyear. Let's say that.
It was much better than Lightyear.
Because I actually enjoyed Minions.
Lightyear
I did not enjoy.
Lightyear, I was just bored and pissed off.
Yeah.
Minions, I was just like, this is like stupid. Like, I'm drunk with my friends. Like, and, I'm shoveling popcorn down my throat and having a fun time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I doubt anyone that watches us has a child, but if you have a child, you need to take them to this. Take them to Minions, I mean. Not the Daytrippers.
Yeah. Daytrippers is not a kid's movie.
Well, I can't rate The Gray Man yet, because I haven't seen it. But hopefully I'll probably watch it on Friday when it comes out. But Minions, Rise of Gru, I give 2 out of 3 stars.
I also give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
6.5.
Around the same rating, yeah. It's a solid kids movie.
Yeah, it's a solid kids movie. Yeah.
All right, so Evan, are you ready to get into the Daytrippers?
I am ready.
Okay. Well, Evan, will you set the stage for us?
Set the stage.
Set the stage.
So the Daytrippers, of course, directed by Greg Mottola of Superbad fame. I'm sure most of you have seen Superbad. Pretty, it's up there, you know, it's a quite famous movie, right?
One of the most famous comedies.
Pretty much, yeah. But this is a movie he directed years before. I guess, when did Superbad come out? Like 2008? I think 2008. So 12 years before Superbad. It's a while before. And yeah, it's about this family that's trying... Okay, so I should start out with saying it's about the sister in the family. She suspects that her husband is cheating on her.
Yes, the older sister.
Yeah, and she kind of gives this note that she finds that leads her to suspect her husband to her family. And they're like, you know what, why don't we go in the city and find him and confront him? Mm-hmm. And the movie's just kind of about their day looking for the husband.
Yeah. It's
pretty simple.
It's a very character-driven movie.
Yeah. Like I was mentioning to you yesterday, so this movie was kind of part of that whole 90s indie scene where it was like, you know, heavy on character, heavy on dialogue. Those low-budget movies, like, you know, like Clerks and stuff like that. But this one was like, it was not nowhere near as famous as like a Clerks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Greg Mottola didn't blow up to the level as like a Richard Linklater or somebody like that.
Yeah, there wasn't a Daytrippers animated series.
Yeah. There was not, no. But, like I was mentioning to you, for a long time it was really hard to see this movie. Because actually I had wanted to see it for a while before Criterion released it. Thank you, Criterion. They had released it and I finally got around to seeing it. But it was sure, hard to find. And
yeah, you said the VHS used to go for $100 or something?
No, it was like a DVD copy. Yeah, an out-of-print older DVD copy was like over $100. So yeah, it was hard to watch non-streaming or anything like that. And then Janus Films and Criterion, they worked together and restored it.
And now you can watch it in the comfort of your own home, streaming in HD on HBO Max.
Yeah.
That's how I watched it.
Or you can buy a copy from the Criterion Collection, as I did.
Since I like the movie so much, I'm probably going to wind up buying it.
Yeah. It's a good copy, yeah.
Excuse me, jeez. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I remember I asked Evan, one of the first things I said after, I was like, oh yeah, is it still available? Like,
yeah, you can definitely find it. It's not out of print, so yeah.
I really want to buy it. And I want to have, like...
and in July, which means Barnes & Noble is doing their Criterion sale, so it's not a bad time to go.
Oh, really? Yeah. You want to hit Barnes & Noble next weekend?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
We should.
Is it still July next week? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. That'd be awesome.
I've already went, though, for the sale, so I probably won't buy anything, but I'll be there for you.
Yeah, more support. That'd be sweet. Anywho.
What were you saying, though? You were saying something?
No, I just really like the movie, and you want to start off with the very beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
I thought they did a really good job of setting up the relationship.
Yeah, because it starts out in their car drive home. It's the day after. Well, it starts out Thanksgiving evening, right? Thanksgiving, the night of Thanksgiving. They're coming back from the parents' house. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sorry, just saying the stage of it.
Yeah. So they're the very first thing you see is them. I think driving home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From Thanksgiving dinner, and they're kind of like, "Oh, thanks for putting up." It is a sweet moment. She's like, "Oh, thanks for putting up with my family and like staying out late and everything."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, like happy Thanksgiving." Like, that's a sweet moment.
It's interesting, right there. They kind of establish right away because this is a big thing in the movie about the mom. I guess a little bit. She's very overbearing. Yeah. And that's a huge thing in this movie.
Yeah.
So
But I like
it's subtle, but you know what I mean.
They establish pretty quickly in the first couple of scenes, because then they have sex, and then they wake up, and he goes to work, and then the story gets started like right after. But basically, in just like a short few scenes, they kind of establish that they have like a really good relationship.
Yeah. You see, they live in a nice house.
Yeah, they live in a nice house. They have like based on like the short time we get to know them, they have like a good rapport with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
They have a good sex life.
Yeah.
They're attentive to each other. They spend time with each other. He's like, oh, like I won't be able to make it today, but tomorrow we can have dinner.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that sounds great.
And it's interesting. Later she mentions, I'm skipping ahead a bit, but later she says, yeah, everything's great in our relationship in every department. She says that to her parents in the car. So it's like, yeah, that's interesting. They kind of set that up immediately within like a few minutes.
Yeah, very quickly. Oh, yeah, so that was very well done. And I also liked how that sets the stage for the rest of the movie for you to question what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they do have such a good relationship. You see it for yourself, and she thinks so too. So it's like when they start questioning, like, oh, is this note, like, did he find this and just take it home and it's not his? Mm-hmm. Or, like, did this, like, happen to fall in with all his paperwork at work? Or, like, what is this? Like we said, she finds a love note.
Yeah. Well, and it has, like, a poem on it. And that's a big thing in this movie, too, is, like, writers and poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
The writing is a big thing.
Yeah. Which is, I'm going to make the connection to Breaking Bad with that.
Uh-oh.
I'll get around to it.
But, what else was I going to say?
Well, you're saying it kind of gets, right after she finds the note in his pocket. It was like from his pants he was wearing like the night before, I think, right? Or something like that.
It was behind the dresser.
Oh, was it behind the dresser?
It was like sticking out of the dresser.
Okay, that was it. It was like folded up, right? A piece of paper. Well, come on, man. You can do better than that. Come on.
For real. Let's not spoil until we get there.
I'm not spoiling. I'm not spoiling.
But I did want to say that, I guess if I say this is kind of a spoiler.
Well, we're going to get to it anyway.
Whatever.
Can we just... Yeah.
Well, I don't want to spoil it all the way. But basically...
Watch the movie and then come listen.
Yeah, go watch the movie, please.
Because it's very good.
Like I said, it's on HBO Max. Send me $5. I'll give you the password. No. But, yeah, please check it out. It's a good movie. Very good movie. But,
we're not living in 2005 anymore, right? The movie's easy to watch.
For real. All the movies, or not all of them, 90% of the movies we've covered
are pretty easy to watch.
Easy to watch. Very easy to watch.
When we finally do Brown Bunny, that'll probably be one of the hardest ones. Yeah, because that's, You either have to buy the old... Well, yeah, the Blu-ray is limited because there was only 250 copies, and I do have one, signed by Vincent Gallo. And the DVD is, of course, out of print and kind of expensive. So that'll probably be a hard one to watch.
Interesting.
But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Well, that'll make people watch the episode because they can't watch the movie.
Exactly.
So we'll just explain it. Like new rock stars. But yeah, when I first... So, like I said, you were like, let's do the Daytrippers. And I was like, I've never heard of that. So I Googled it real quick. And
I literally did... Can I just say it real quick?
Yeah,
I literally just looked at my shelf. I was like, okay, let's do that one. I was like...
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I think Dylan might enjoy it. So I was like, okay, let's do that one.
Well, Common Evan W.
Yay.
But what was I saying? Yeah, when I read the description online, I had no idea what the movie was about. And when I read the description, I was like, oh, well, it probably is going to turn out that he's not cheating.
Yeah, I think that's... The fact that they kind of give you, like, so much, like, evidence, it's like you think...
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be a misdirect, which there is, but it's not in the way you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, like, for sure it's going to be like, oh, like, it's this quirky family that has to, like, learn their lesson, and they're, like, being gossipy or something.
Yeah.
But no, that is not the case. Which, I'm glad the description kind of misled me, because I was actually kind of surprised with what wound up happening. But yeah, so,
I was too, when I first saw it, yeah. Because I was thinking, like, same time, like, oh, is it going to be, like, well, I don't want to say, like, because I'm like, oh, we'll get to it when we get to it, but, yeah, it's not what you think. It's not what you think,
yeah, not quite what you think. So, the next part is, they have, like, an establishing of, the house, their parents', like, family household.
Yeah, and then you get the other couple in the movie, which is Carl and, I can't remember the sister's name. What is
the younger sister.
Yeah, the one that Parker Posey plays. Let me look at her.
Beautiful woman.
She was quite attractive back then. I don't know what she looks like now, but she was quite attractive.
She's a cute little girl.
She was also in Dazed and Confused. I know we were talking about that briefly. She was in Superman Returns. Who did she play in Superman Returns? Can we look real quick?
She wasn't Lois Lane, was she?
She was Kitty Kowalski.
Oh, she's just like a Daily Planet person.
Oh, okay. I just want to remember what her name was in the Daytrippers. It was Joe. Okay, yeah, Joe.
Right.
And then the older sister was Eliza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there you Yeah, they say Lewis so many times that like I couldn't forget.
Yeah, well, they literally had the scene where they're screaming Lewis and they're chasing the taxi. Yeah.
But yeah, so they establish the mommy's house, the parents' house.
Yeah.
And these are all kooky characters. These are all nutty characters. And I was immediately kind of endeared to the movie in this scene because this reminded me of like kind of my family a little bit. The way that they're like.
I love the mom in this movie. I just want to say that.
She's great.
Yeah, she's great.
She's a great actress.
Ben Stiller's mother.
Oh yeah,
Ben Stiller's mother. Yeah.
Crazy that she's more talented than Ben Stiller. But yeah, she's fantastic, and she plays like kind of a not kind of airheaded.
I don't know if that's the right way to put it. I don't know if that's how I describe it.
She's not stupid.
But I know what you mean. It's kind of like, it's like a trope, the kind of mother she plays.
She's
but
like
I don't know how to describe.
She's like a Midwestern mother.
Well, they're from New York.
Trope.
It's in New York.
Aren't they from Minnesota?
No.
Don't they say that?
The movie's in New York, but I know Carl and the younger sister, Joe, they were living in Michigan.
Oh.
And that's still on the East Coast, right? I don't know geography, whatever.
Yeah, well, not on the. I don't think it's on the coast, but it's east.
Well, yeah, not on the coast, but it's east.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, whatever. You get what I'm saying.
But yeah, she plays that kind of. Well, I guess overbearing is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But she's a little. Not like she's a little like socially clueless. A little.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that. Yeah.
She's not like clueless, but just like a little. Yeah, socially inept.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And like you said, very overbearing. Yeah. Even with the husband, if we see later.
Yeah. But it's in that kind of parent way where they just assume that they know what's best for you, and
that is definitely, she's like very, I don't know if self-righteous is the right word, but she's like, it's her way or the highway. You know what I mean?
Very assertive, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah, she really does. She's a highlight of the movie.
She comes off as very real. All the acting is very good.
I agree.
The
whole cast, they're all really good in it. Yeah.
But yeah, so you get introduced. So what I was saying is it endeared me to the characters and the family like immediately, because the way that they're making so much fucking noise, like while the kids are trying to sleep, I was like, holy shit, that's so funny. Like she just has like this mini coffee grinder and just like,
yeah,
and then like
the dad's vacuuming.
Yeah. And it's like, gosh, Jesus.
This is I think this scene is really important too, because it kind of sets the stage for something to come later, just about these two characters. So Carl is like sleeping in like the guest room. The mother doesn't let them sleep together while they're in her house, and they're in a relationship, Joe and Carl. Dad, I said Joe with the younger sister. So yeah, it's her parents. She like sneaks in the guest room. She's trying to like have sex with him. And he's like, no. He's like, I'm trying to follow your mother's rules. So this is a big thing in the movie. Carl is like, for the mom, he's like the perfect boyfriend. You know what I mean? Because he's like so nice there. He treats the parents with respect. He treats her with respect. He wants to listen to her rules. Like she went to like, she's like, yeah, who cares? Like they're not gonna find out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's like, no. We're in her house. I think we should follow their rules. You know what I mean? And that kind of leads to some tension between them, like how. I don't know what to call it. It's like he's too... Because she wants to rebel against her mother, and then it's kind of like, he's like...
He wants to please them.
Yeah,
Yeah, Carl
and that leads to a lot of tension between them.
Yeah. Carl wants to be like the best possible.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Boyfriend. I guess he's not like their son.
Yeah. But I feel like, for me at least, it feels very genuine. Like, I don't think he's doing it like... Because he wants to please... Like, it feels like, it's like... how he is, you know what I mean? Yeah.
He's a very well-mannered, kind person, I guess.
But I think it can be... Because there's something that happens later in the movie that they don't explain at all. It comes to the point where he's also very overbearing. Like, it's too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Similar to the mother. And, yeah, there's a connection between those two characters. But anyways, I apologize to go into that tirade. I just thought that was important, because that's a big thing in the movie.
So, yeah, the first thing they establish... is like their relationship to each other and the parents.
Yeah.
Like it's all connected there.
And then, you get the mom knocking on the door, because she was in there, and then they're about to have sex, I guess. And then she knocks on the door, and Carl opens the door immediately.
Yeah, like, he's, like, pulling his shirt down and, like, and getting dressed, and he's like, oh, yeah, like, hey, good morning, like, breakfast smells great, and so he, like, finesses.
Yeah.
And he pretends that
she's still in the other room.
Yeah,
because they're knocking, he's like, wake up.
He's like, oh, Joe, wake up. And
we don't see how they get out of it.
I think
they just kind of cut to when they're at...
I think he just convinces her to, like, pretty much be like, oh, like, they're getting ready. Like,
yeah.
and she goes back into the kitchen, and Joe's able to leave the room.
Yeah.
And it's so... I fucking love this movie because the way that they set up the dinner scene, or not the dinner scene, the breakfast scene, and the way that, like, the mom is, like, talking to Joe, and she's like, oh, why do you do this to your hair?
Yeah.
And, like, but they're not, like, really mean to each other. Like,
no.
Joe's just like, oh, come on, mother.
Yeah, it starts out lighthearted, but you see how it kind of builds up later, of course. But yeah, she's not, like... She, like, sticks her tongue out to her or something in, like, a joking way. No, she doesn't stick her tongue out. She does, like...
Yeah, like a fake choking.
You can't see me, yeah. But
fake choking her mom.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you should show him your nipples, Carl.
But I think that's important, too, because, again, it kind of showed more like, okay, she's kind of trying to rebel against, like, the standard values her mom has. And then Carl is very, like, he's dressed very nice in the suit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love her character, Joe.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
like her.
It's good.
Like, the way, like, later in the movie, when they wind up stuck kind of in the cold, and she didn't dress properly for the cold, so she looks like shit. Like, she's wearing, like...
Oh, she's wearing the skirt, yeah. Because the mom tells her, don't wear the skirt, it's freezing outside.
Yeah, it's like a cute little skirt and then, like, a jacket. And then they wind up being really cold. Because
they had the heater stopped working in the car or whatever. Or they can't turn it on.
She basically has to start wearing, like, a bunch of layers of, like, different clothes, like, in the car.
And you get some funny, like, little moments with that later.
Yeah, and she's just, like... I don't know, like, it's... She's kind of rebellious. It's not really working out for her, but it's kind of... It's really interesting. Her character is really good.
Yeah, I like the green eyeshadow.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
It looked cool. I like it.
Yeah. I don't like green.
I like green.
I like green as, like, for a tree, but... like, if someone has, like, green hair or green makeup...
What if they had a green hat with an L on it?
Well, that would be dope.
Okay.
And I'd probably buy a plushie of that.
Okay,
yeah.
Just wondering.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, so Joe, I was very endeared also to Joe. She's very cute and a very cool, fun character.
Yeah. And I like Carl a lot. I really like Carl. I like his quirkiness and his pretentiousness.
I don't like Carl because he reminds me of me a little bit. Like,
I don't want to say it, but I'm like, yeah, me too a little bit.
Yeah, I just, like, not that I'm definitely not, like, clean cut and I dress so well or
no,
anything.
me either.
But just the way he, like, explains his book and everything, I'm like, oh, God. Like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and I feel like later me and him have some similar political takes, so, you know.
Well, I guess we'll talk about
that. Because I like that scene a lot.
That is a good scene.
When he gets into that debate with the guy. Not exactly the same, because I don't agree with his solution, but I do agree with his analysis of the problem.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyways. But yeah, if you're just a very real feeling family, great actors in the whole family. I think Carl is kind of maybe the weakest link in the cast because he's...
It's funny, he's probably the biggest actor now.
Liev Schreiber?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
He played fucking Sabretooth.
He also played... Who did he play in Spider-Verse? Kingpin.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I feel like he's the weakest link just because he comes off as more of a caricature than anyone else. Even the mom.
I would say...
I feel
like the mom the most.
I feel like the mom, like...
They're all a little bit.
I feel like Joe...
Except maybe the two sisters.
Joe and Liza feel very real. Lewis feels very real.
He's not even in the movie too much. Because we see him at the beginning and then at the end.
Yeah, but he still feels very real.
Played by Stanley... Actually, Stanley Tucci might be the biggest. I don't
Probably.
know. Yeah, because he's in it too.
Probably him.
And he still had hair in this movie. I'm so used to seeing him bald.
Well,
well, yeah, he was balding. But yeah. I saw a Letterboxd review that was like, so they were like, can someone edit this movie and make him bald? It was like, it don't look right, him having hair.
But yeah.
Shout out to whoever made that Letterboxd review.
I think it's just because I've met older women like that so much that it feels less like a caricature. I don't spend a ton of time with like.
Well, I feel like I've met some Carls in my life.
Well, but the thing is, first of all, we're friends. Nah, but like you went to fucking film school.
Yeah.
So I know you met some Carls, like even more Carly than us. But yeah, it's not bad or anything. He's a good actor. It's a good character, but that's the only one where I'm like, it feels a little caricature-y. And then I guess Liza comes. Is that her name?
There's a few Marvel actors in this movie. Stanley Tucci, Liev Schreiber, and then also
who does Stanley Tucci play? The Yellow Jacket?
No, he is the scientist in a First Avenger, the one who invents the fucking super soldier serum, the one who died.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, he was gay. Wow.
What do you mean? Like in this?
I don't know.
Like he's not gay in Captain America. We spoiled it. Yeah, the spoiler is that Stanley Tucci character is gay at the end.
That was the first gay MCU character. I'm so proud.
I don't think he was gay in the Captain America, but I don't know. We don't get his backstory enough to say. And then also the guy that, I guess more spoilers. Well, no, I won't say the guy who's writing a book.
Oh,
the guy who's writing a book. He's Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker's father.
Really?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, like the charismatic gentleman.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Spoilers, he's alive in TASM 2.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It depends. If you think the alternate ending canon, he's alive.
Yeah, that's true.
It depends which ending you take as canon.
Oh, man. So, her name's Liza, right?
The older sister.
The older sister. Mm-hmm. So Liza comes home in the midst of her family kind of planning to go out into the city for whatever reason.
I think it's like, they went... I guess Carl and... Yeah, because they came in from Michigan, I think, into New York. So I guess they didn't have a car, and they're like, we're going to go shopping in the city. So our parents will take us.
Right. And then, so Liza comes in the middle of that, and she wants to talk to the mom, right?
Yeah. I like this scene. Yeah, she just talked to the mom at first. She's like, can you just keep this between us? And she's like, yeah. And then the whole family ends up reading. Well, it just cuts to Carl reading the note.
The funniest part of that to me is like, we'll just keep it between us. And then it cuts to the only member of, like, not member of the family, like, reading it. It's pretty funny.
And he knows writers and shit because he's a writer. So he recognized that it was like a poem from, I forgot who the writer was.
Yeah.
He recognized that. So I just thought that was interesting. Yeah. Well, it's not interesting, but it's a little tidbit.
Well, because it's kind of a further integration of Carl into the story.
Yeah,
because he has, like, that initial purpose.
Yeah.
But also, like, he has, like, a thematic type of purpose later, but... yeah, he's able to tell them what exactly the poem means. And Joe does, too. Joe kind of explains it in, like, layman's terms.
Yeah. I like that a lot, too. Because it's, like... again, kind of, it's little, but it's like, it's more of a thing to come up later between Carl and Joe. Yeah. Where it's like, Carl is like kind of overly pretentious.
Yeah.
And then Joe's like, yeah, let me say this in simple terms.
You know what I mean? Yeah, she's kind of like, fuck it. It's like, it's not that smart, like, dude.
Yeah, because when I heard him reading it, you pretty much get what the poem's saying. It's like, I love you, but you're far away from me. Yeah. You know what I mean, or whatever.
Goddamn. But yeah, so basically the interpretation of the poem or what it means is it's basically like people that are in love but they can't have each other.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thing that makes you think, oh, well, maybe he is cheating because that's pretty specific to someone that's cheating.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm married, so I can't have you. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what the poem boiled down to.
Yeah. But I think at that moment she still doesn't really want to believe. For a while, most of the time they don't want to believe. They're like, that it doesn't confirm anything. Like it could be anything, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And I forgot who has the idea. Like, we should go in the city and find. Is there?
Yeah, because
that makes sense.
Yeah. Because Liza.
Yeah.
Is Liza's like, oh, well, I'll just call him, which is extremely reasonable.
Yeah.
But the mom is like, no, like, you have to see him, you have to look him in the eyes. So you
because she said the eyes, like, you won't be able to tell if he's lying unless you look him in the eyes.
Yeah, so, great idea.
She's very nosy. Yeah.
Very
nosy and gossipy.
Snoopy, gossipy, and controlling, and all of those things. Great mother.
Nonetheless, she's a good mother.
Great mother. She had entiments.
Up to this point, though, the father has had like barely any dialogue.
Yeah, he hasn't said
pretty
much
silent.
at all. Yeah, but I like the father a lot.
No, me too. You really come around to him towards the end of the movie.
He's a good character.
There's a lot of times they just show his face though, because the mother kind of like trying to speak for everybody, and especially her and him, and you can see in his face like, oh, he's not really willing to like go along. Like, he doesn't want what the mom wants, but he just goes along with it because she's so overbearing.
Is he the one that asks in the beginning what... Because they're, like, all kind of, like, getting, like, riled up and, like, getting ready to leave. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's the mom is like, oh, well, Liza, what do you want to do, though?
No, that comes at the end of the movie.
No, but in the beginning, there's another one.
Oh, is there?
I can't remember. The dad says it at the end, but I think at the beginning, the mom says it.
Because it's a pretty big moment at the end.
It is. But in the beginning, I know for a fact that I think the mom might be the one that says it.
Oh, I can't remember.
That says, like, because they're like, oh, blah, 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 like, blah, blah. And then she's like, well, Liza, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to go out to the city with us? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's the mom in the beginning.
Oh, maybe. I can't remember. I'll have to go check it out. And confirm.
But anyways, that's like, that's a big moment later.
Yeah.
With a great moment.
It is a great moment.
Great moment. So yeah, they go. And that, don't they?
They do go, yeah. And I think, I like this part because that's I really don't like, they don't really establish up to this point how long Joe and Carl have been dating, because it seems like the parents know him but they don't know him that well.
Yeah,
because they're like, they don't really know what he's doing. They're like, oh yeah, what's your job? And he starts saying, oh, I work at a construction site or whatever. Well, I guess it's not what he wants to do, but it's like to make the money, make ends meet.
Well, they mentioned too that they've lived out of state for a while, so maybe they haven't met in person yet.
Yeah, that could be it. I don't know. Yeah, they're at Michigan, because that comes up also in this part. And then she mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, Carl's writing a book. And she's the first one initially to tell him, like, oh yeah, you should tell him, Joe, is like, tell him about the book. And I was like, yeah, we want to hear it. And you see the dad's face, he doesn't want to hear about the fucking book. But he's like, okay, I'll explain it. And he starts going on.
The book is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is funny. It is about the dog. It's a human with a dog's head, who's treated as a weirdo, as an outcast.
It's Kafka-esque, Kevin.
It's Kafka-esque. Okay, so now I can mention Breaking Bad, because you brought it up, Kafka-esque. So yesterday, okay, and also in this scene, first they passed the Walt Whitman Mall. And then I was like, oh shit, Walt Whitman Mall. And, then that's in New York. And before I rewatched the movie, in Breaking Bad, do you remember Gale in Breaking Bad?
Gale is like the other chemist?
Yeah, Walt's initial partner.
Yeah.
When he starts working with Gus in the lab. Yeah. The one he wants to get rid of so Jesse can start working in the lab with him. Gale recites a Walt Whitman poem. And then I see that. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then they mentioned Kafka. And I was like, oh, I'm literally about to watch the episode Kafka-esque in Breaking Bad.
It's called Kafka-esque?
Yeah, the episode in Breaking Bad. And then they're like, oh, this is Kafka-esque. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I know just very two distinct writers got brought up in this movie that were both mentioned in Breaking Bad. I don't know fucking writers and shit, so I can't talk about, like,
speak
the deeper meaning or anything, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So there you go. There's your full circle moment.
If you want to make something awesome, I guess read those guys, because they influence these wonderful filmmakers. Yeah. And
it's funny, in Breaking Bad, in that episode. So you remember Jesse goes to like it's not an AA thing. It's not an AA thing like Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's like for like just
a support group.
People, for people in rehab or who are out of rehab. I think he's already out of rehab by that point, but he still goes to the support group.
Yeah.
He says he makes up that story that he's working at the laundromat and that his boss is a dick or whatever. And then the support group guy is like, oh yeah, it's Kafka-esque. And he's like, yeah, that, Jesse, even though he clearly has no idea what that means. And then later when he's with his friends Skinny and Badger, you remember them?
Yeah.
He's like, he just says, yeah, it's Kafka-esque. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, he just says that again and he doesn't know what he means. I thought it was funny. Anyway, back to the movie.
So, yeah. Dogman movie.
Dogman book.
Dogman. Oh, yeah. So, the dad... Book. I remember at one part, the mom is kind of ditzy, though. Because she's like... There's one part where she's like, oh, he has a dog's head? How are you going to do that? And then Joe is like, it's a book, Mom.
Yeah, she's like a fable.
That was really funny.
Like, yeah, it's a fantasy. And I think that's when he says it Kafka-esque.
No, he says like, oh, it's he has a dog's head. It's a Kafka-esque kind of tale. And then Joe is like, it's like a kid's book for adults, Mom.
No, I remember she specifically said it's like a fable. That's what she said, yeah. And yeah, he starts identifying the problems with this. Like, he gets a platform because he has like a dog's head. People invite him on late night television.
He like goes viral, basically.
Yeah, and he starts talking about the problems with society.
Good book.
Yeah. What the book means in the grand scheme of this movie, I'm not entirely sure.
I think
it's just to give us a bit more about Carl, maybe.
Yeah, I think it just characterizes Carl, and it also helps characterize the family and their kind of reaction to it. Like, the mom kind of like tries to feign interest, and the dad doesn't.
I feel like the character is maybe supposed to be like kind of based on Carl.
Yeah,
a little bit, because maybe that's how he feels. Like, he feels like he's out of place, and because we see that later, especially with the political thing. Like, oh, he likes to talk about what he thinks the problems with society are. You know what I mean? So maybe that's like, I feel like, oh, it's a bit of a 1-to-1 maybe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Anyways.
Yeah, I definitely think it's supposed to be like, this is like someone's cringe first book.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of all it is, I think. And also, like you said, like, there's parallels to...
Yeah.
But when I say, like, oh, it's just supposed to be someone's cringe first book, like, usually when someone's a writer or something, their first works are kind of, like, unintentionally, like, too autobiographical, or, like,
yeah, I think that's the same with a lot of things. Like, movies,
any art,
like,
art, really. Yeah, so I think it's just supposed to be like that, like...
Or, like, overly pretentious. Because it's like, oh, because he starts out right away saying, like, oh, this, like, it's all an allegory. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, it's like, oh, this big allegorical thing. You know what I mean? But anyways.
Yeah, and what is the fucking one part he says, he's like, oh, like, this is later. So they keep bringing this back.
Yeah, like whenever they're in the car.
When they're traveling in the car to go somewhere to, like, try and track down Lewis, he gives a little more information about the book. Excuse me. And there's one part where he's like, so he's become, like, like, one of the most influential political speakers in the nation, and he gets mailed a fucking mail bomb.
Yeah.
And then it explodes his hands off, and then he's like, so now his hands are exploded off. And now he's a pointer that can't point. That's fucking hilarious.
That was funny.
That was funny. Good. It's like, it's really, that's so common where it's like, you really thought you did something on that one.
God, that's why I really like Carl. He's hilarious.
He is funny. He's great. He's a great character.
But where do we go from there? They're in the car. Where do they first go?
So they keep trekking around. They're the first place they go.
Oh, it's his office.
Yeah, they just go straight up, ask for him at the office.
And he works at, I guess it's like publishing.
Is it signed Sandy?
The note. Yeah,
I think the note is signed Sandy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the woman at the front desk, I kind of missed that his name was Sandy. Mm-hmm. Spoilers.
Spoiler. Well, you already said it earlier. Yeah.
I kind of missed that his name was Sandy in the beginning. So the woman at the front desk is named Cassandra.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, so I bet they call you Sandy.
I like that scene. She's like, nope.
She's like, no, never called me that. Which is really funny, but I also was like, wow, she's like, what the fuck is she talking about? But I missed earlier the Sandy thing.
Oh, the Sandy, okay. Yeah. They mentioned that earlier, that the note had Sandy written on it. I wonder if they could have went with a better gender neutral name than Sandy.
Could they have?
Yeah, probably.
Terry?
Chris. No, well, I feel like Chris, like you would immediately assume a man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, not necessarily.
Well, my mom's name is Chris and my aunt's name is Terry. And those were the first names that we said.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sandy is like fine though.
The only thing I'm thinking is like, have I ever heard of a man named Sandy? I don't know if I have. It's probably a thing. I'm just like, I don't know if off the top of my head, I was like, do I know of a dude named Sandy?
I think I have in like a restaurant like way. Like it's like, oh, Sandy's Bar and Grill, like some shit like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have. But yeah, so they go to the office. That mom does have a cool interaction with Cassandra.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful name.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Do you think it's a beautiful name?
Yeah, it's a beautiful name for a beautiful young woman.
Oh. How about that?
Yeah.
She has a beautiful brooch.
She does.
She says, "Oh, you have a beautiful. What do you call that? A brooch?" Yeah.
And Eliza. Is it Liza or Eliza?
I think Liza for short.
Okay, Liza. Yeah, she goes up, like to his office. Well, like where his cubicle is, and we get a pretty. I like this scene because it's funny. You get this fucking dude talking about his bar experience.
This was like the most Clerks the movie is.
I guess so, yeah.
With that character.
There's just some guy, and there's an irony to it, of course. He's like, yeah, this girl just comes up, this punky girl, and she starts telling me too much about her sex life, which he ends up doing. So it's like, oh, there's a bit of irony about this or whatever. More later, I guess, because he starts telling strangers. It's later in the movie, so you assume he knows the guy he's talking to, anyways. So it's less weird, but it
also happens to be in front of our POV character.
Yeah,
which he does not know whatsoever.
This guy just talking about how he hooked up with his punky chick. No, he didn't hook up with the punky chick. He hooked up with the sweet chick, who ends up being a thief who stole from the punky chick.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Go watch a movie. You can hear his whole story. And then you have the more established writer guy there who he's talking to. The guy who said with Peter Parker's dad. And this guy, you see him immediately, he's trying to hit on her in that first initial scene.
Yeah, the older sister, Liza.
But I think he kind of lays off once he realizes,
it's Lewis's wife.
Yeah,
And he's like, oh, yeah, Lewis is a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not at least a bad guy or nothing.
No. He was like, yeah.
He's not a bad guy.
He was like, this is a single young woman.
Yeah.
Until later, we see him do some not...
Maybe he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, but you can excuse him at first. You can see he's a bit of a ladies' man, and he's trying to, do his thing.
He's a handsome guy. He looks way different in this. Obviously, it was 40 years ago.
Well, yeah, he was younger. But you can see he's already kind of graying a bit.
He's very handsome.
He's very handsome. He is.
In this movie?
Yeah.
In this movie, he's very handsome.
Yeah. Part of that, kind of, American Psycho vibe he got going.
Yeah, he has a little bit of American Psycho type vibe.
For sure, yeah. He definitely, I don't like his, no, he's well done, he's well acted, but I don't like his character because, he very clearly, kind of represents that, upper class, neoliberal kind of, writer, you know what I mean? Very, which we see later anyway, so we'll get into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he's also... So when... It kind of immediately draws a parallel between him and Carl.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's like, sure. Oh yeah, they published my book. Blah, and I was like, oh yeah, Carl has a book.
Yeah. He's not published.
And of course not, yeah.
They're definitely on opposite ends where you see this man, he is upper class. He's already making his living as a writer. Whereas Carl is not. Why?
I lowered out his chair.
Yeah. And then Carl is not making his living as a writer. So it's just, But you can assume Carl is much younger than him at the same time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's Carl's mid-20s, early 20s, and...
I think I'm probably 40?
Yeah, he's easily 40 or something.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, Lewis is not there. You see the boss. He's like, oh, we let Lewis off early. We gave him the day off early. But guess what? And also, why are they all working the day after Thanksgiving? Whatever.
Well,
I just thought about that. I'm like...
The day after Thanksgiving, I don't think is always...
Usually.
That's not always a day off.
Because usually they'll give you the Thanksgiving off and then Black Friday.
Black Friday.
Yeah. Unless you're working in retail, but... No, whatever.
Well, they're busy.
Yeah, they're busy.
Yeah. A lot of books A lot of books.
Yeah, they just had to host that book party the day after Thanksgiving. Anyways. Yeah, but they're like, oh, but he'll be at this book party later. And then you see the charming guy give Liza the invite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, too.
It gives more, it's like even more like creepy American side. Like he just pulls out of his suit.
It was really funny, that scene to me, or that moment right there, because the kind of like normal looking, like kind of schlubby like manager guy, he's kind of like fumbling around in his pockets like, oh, I think I have an invitation somewhere.
Yeah.
And then the Patrick Bateman guy, like he just like slips it out like a Joker card.
Yeah.
Like really slick, and he's like, oh, I have one.
Yeah, he just hands it over there.
Yeah. Very cool.
Some good character work there.
Yeah.
Truly. And then what happens after this?
They leave.
Where do we go after this?
I think so they realize they have time to kill.
Yeah.
And then, so they're gonna go...
No, I think after this they go to the apartment.
I know what happens, yeah.
Oh.
I'll explain it.
No, I mean Sandy's apartment, not that. Okay, explain it, Dylan.
Oh yeah, wait, do they go to Sandy's apartment?
I can't remember whose apartment they go to.
I think they go to Sandy's apartment, yeah.
Yeah, they have to, because the mom had to break down after them running,
yeah,
and then they go to that stranger's apartment.
So they see Lewis leaving Sandy's apartment.
But I'm trying to remember, how did they get Sandy's address?
From shit they find in Lewis's desk.
Okay, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, because the mom...
No, the mom wants to go back. She's like, okay, we just leave, we'll go to the book party later. She's like, we'll go to the book party later or whatever, and the mom is like, no, we need to go look at a desk or whatever.
Yeah,
and
then they do, and she's like rifling through it, and at this point, Liza's still kind of like, whoa, everything is so good right now, and like she's still like, not really super interested in pursuing it, but they do find Sandy's address.
Yeah, and they find a picture of him and a woman. And they're like, oh, that must be Sandy. Oh, the cake says Happy Birthday, Sandy.
Oh, right.
And he's with the woman. So they're like, oh, that's not a good look. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, she's still kind of like, this doesn't mean anything. And, they find the address, and they go to the apartment. And they see Lewis and the woman from the picture walking out.
Fleeing.
They go into a taxi. And she doesn't want... She had a moment where she could go stop him, but she doesn't want to.
Yeah.
I guess she's too nervous. But they hop in a taxi.
So they go attempt to follow them. The dad kind of has to stop at a red light.
Yeah. And then this where you see more, like, the mom is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, goddamn, like, she didn't chill this fuck out.
So that bitch gets out and starts sprinting towards Lewis, like, screaming.
And they all run out. I liked him with Carl carrying the teas.
Yeah.
The jasmine teas. That he gets for them all.
And that was a funny reaction, too, from the dad.
Yeah, because they're like, they think it's going to be like coffee or
something. They pass out the cups, and the mom is like, oh, what'd you get for us, Carl? And then, like, the dad's like, normal, trying to, like, about to take a sip, and then Carl's like, oh, it's a nice jasmine blend.
Yeah.
And the dad's like,
Yeah.
That was funny.
It was funny. And, yeah, but like you were saying, they all go out and chase Lewis in taxi because the dad wasn't able to catch up. And then the mom has, like, I don't know, she's like, she's old. So
she faints.
Yeah, she faints.
Kind of falls down.
Yeah. And they just harass some random dude. No, Carl does. Because like we said, Carl is like, he's like, whatever the mom needs, he's the fine, outstanding young gentleman. Yeah. He runs up to him, he's like, we need to go in your apartment or whatever. Please, this young woman, I'm not a young woman, this woman has fainted. And they just kind of burst into that dude's
He says,
apartment.
oh, I promise this is not a scam.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dude. Like, he's the least, like, streetwise person in the world, too. It's funny.
And they go in that guy's apartment. He's with his dad or whatever. He's a mafia father.
So that's an interesting little thing.
No, this scene, I wanted to talk about this scene because I'm not entirely sure what to make of it. And they go into this young gentleman's home, and he's with his father who's visiting him. And we see later as he tells Eliza, because they go buy food to make a lunch for everybody. He's actually, like, on the run from the law because he hasn't paid alimony or whatever. Was that it? Alimony?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the mother doesn't know that he's staying with his fucking dad or whatever, hiding him out. And he only tells Eliza this when they're, like, buying the food or whatever. And everyone else just assumes, oh, this is kind of...
Weird.
It's just a guy and his dad. But they had that weird phone call or whatever.
Oh, yeah, they mentioned that later.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this scene. Because they just meet this random family and have lunch with them. And then leave.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, maybe it's just another example of another kooky family situation.
But it's like, we see, like, the dad is kind of like... He's saying some stuff about the son, and they don't come out and say it, but it seems like it might not be true. Because the son's having, like, some interesting reaction to it.
There's one thing I remember that he says that the son has, like, a hard reaction to.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
I off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure.
I know one thing he said was, like, he was like, oh, like, my fucking tennis elbow, I can't play tennis anymore. And the son was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he says, like, the arthritis or whatever. Yeah, and then he says something about the son specifically.
Boy Scout? He says
something about the Boy Scout. That was it, yeah. He has an interesting reaction to the Boy Scout thing. But I would just think about it, and I don't really entirely know what to make of it. Is it trying to say something about parents? I don't know. Because we see or family in general, because there's another moment kind of like this later in the movie with the two sisters.
Yeah.
And they go... And so you just kind of have these interaction with these random families, and I don't really know what to make of it.
Yeah, I don't know, like, specifically what to make of it, but I do think it kind of...
I think it's there for a reason.
It definitely gives you kind of,
I was listening to another review on YouTube, I don't remember the name of the person, but they were saying, it felt like filler, but I don't really agree.
I don't really agree either. I don't think I take it away like a hard, like, oh, I could write you a paragraph on what I take from this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, it's just like a juxtaposition. Like, you can compare and contrast. Like, for example, the second example is a little easier to explain. Like, it kind of juxtaposes those two sisters to the two sisters that would have been following, like, the main characters.
I think maybe the dad, like, this random gentleman... And his dad, maybe the dad and the mom. Maybe.
Yeah. Like, one is more, like, quiet. The other one's kind of, like, assertive, like, dominant over the...
No, I just mean, like, that guy's dad and the mom. Maybe there's a comparison that can be made between those two.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
But I'm not entirely sure. And then, like you said... He tells Eliza, he's hiding his dad, who's like a fugitive, in his apartment. And she never tells her family that later when they're like, oh, they were like, there was something off about them.
Yeah.
And the phone call, him not wanting to say, oh, he was with his dad. And telling everyone to be quiet. So it's like, I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I think there's just a bit of like, compare and contrast. Like, I don't think there's like a one-to-one like answer or like a thematic specific answer. But I do think the second one is a little more, I could put more of a nail on what's interesting about that part.
Yeah, probably.
But this one is a little strange.
I like the mafioso vibe that the dad gives though.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a good old Italian New Yorker. He gives them all a kiss on the cheek when they're leaving. Well, the women.
He doesn't pay alimony.
He's like, yeah.
Classic Italian.
Yeah, classic Italian. You can say that because you're Italian. So,
yeah, I can. Yeah. Can't I?
I can't. So I take it back.
Yeah.
Let me zip my lips.
So yeah, they share a lunch with those people. They were kind civilians to them, I guess.
Yeah. Even though they kind of barked in.
They were kind of forced to be. But
yeah. Well, the dad is more like, no, you stay and you have lunch with us. And I don't know. That's why I think like the dad and the mom, like that random dad and then the mom from the main family are kind of similar.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. And
that seems like something
we don't really ever see her being like a liar. I don't think so anyways, but you can maybe see that where she's like, yeah, my kid was doing this and this when they were young, and maybe when the daughter be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Some similarities, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's a big thing in this movie. It's like with family, it's like, are they like the best thing or are they the worst thing? You know what I mean? Especially towards the end of the movie.
Well, I have my big takeaway from the movie, which I guess we'll get into later.
Okay.
Later. Then the movie's not too long, so, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, but I feel like that's definitely a thing in this. Do you think I'm reaching?
Well, no, I mean it's definitely about family, no matter.
No, I don't mean that, but it's like there's like that pull between like, are they there for you or are they actively ruining your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing in it. And maybe that's the point. There's like varying degrees.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's definitely a big thing at the very ending of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they leave that family, and like I said, she doesn't really explain what was going on with the dad and his son.
Well, there's also the aspect. There's a few times this kind of comes across my mind in the movie. It's like, does her not mentioning that matter or not? Because it's kind of like it's a pretty tense day.
Mm-hmm.
Winds up being a pretty tense day for everyone.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like, I mean, their business is like, who cares now?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But or like, does it matter? I don't know.
Or maybe it's like she's not trying to be like her mom.
Yeah.
Who's very overly... Because with the mom who found that out, you already know she would have been like, oh my god, like, would have told them all
the first thing she does is like, oh, let's keep this between us. And then they immediately tell Carl.
Yeah.
And like the whole family. But then she kind of just, keeps it to herself.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's what's going on there.
And I really... God, I don't want to get into it too early, but yeah, she also, like, the ending of the movie kind of, like, I think both sisters kind of go against the mom and go for each other at the end, which I really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to, we'll get into that.
Yeah. Well, we're almost there. This movie is not very long.
It's a short movie.
Because after this, it's like, oh, they go to the party, I think, after they leave.
Well, they go to something else first, don't they? Because they go to, like, the book showing thing... And then they leave, and then they go back to the party.
I think they're looking at the pictures, and they see like the blue restaurant in the background or whatever. No, that was for the apartment. That was earlier. What am I talking about? Yeah, no, I think after that they just go to the party, right? Because at first only Joe and Carl go inside.
Yes.
It's like the book party or whatever.
Yeah.
Or actually, they're the only ones who go inside there. Because Lewis doesn't even end up being there.
They go to the book party, and then they go to the other party.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That's what I was thinking of.
Okay,
yeah, so they go to the book thing. Right?
Yeah. And this scene is...
epic.
Good. Well, this is when... By this point, I think Joe had been getting annoyed of Carl kind of sucking up to the mom.
Yeah. I think she mentions that to Liza in the apartment.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Yeah.
She's like, God, like... I forgot exactly what she says.
Because Carl was like... She was like, "Oh, my hands." We mentioned the arthritis.
Yeah, he starts massaging her.
And then he starts massaging her. She's like, "Oh, that's so nice." and then also Carl's like, "Oh, Joanne, do you like whatever her name is? What is her name?"
The mother. Was it Rita?
It might be Rita.
Let me look.
He's like, "Oh, Rita, do you want some more wine?" And she's like, "Oh, I really shouldn't, Carl. Oh, I really shouldn't." And
it is Rita.
They're like laughing together, and he's like pouring her more wine.
He's a good boyfriend.
And then after, I think like right when that happens, she's like, "I've had enough of fucking Carl." With mom today, and like,
Yeah, because like I mentioned at the very beginning, it's like you kind of establish immediately that she's kind of rebellious against the mother. So it's like, well, my boyfriend is the complete opposite. So it's like, all right, and I guess I think it kind of goes to your point, like maybe at this point Carl had not met the parents yet. So she didn't really know that side of him. You know what I mean? And then once she sees that side, she immediately kind of like she hates it.
Or I think maybe it's more like not like that she hasn't seen that side of him, but I think she didn't understand, or not didn't understand, but she didn't take into account that
it wasn't stuck in a car with you.
Yeah, but she didn't think about like, oh, my parents will love this guy. Like she just kind of liked him, and then when she saw him like interacting with them, she's like, or especially the mom.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, like obviously she knows how he is personality-wise, but I mean like how well it would like
how the mom
click
will
with
like
the with the mother.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like
that bothers
me. And yeah, so they go inside the party, and that's when you get the thing about she starts taking off, like, she has like a million layers of fucking, goddamn, it must be cold as fuck in New York.
Yeah, because everyone else is dressed properly, but she has to, like, make a hodgepodge of different things. And I like that part a lot. I don't know why. It's not, like, a big thing or anything, but she's just, like... She's like, I don't want to look nice. Yeah. And then she's just, like, pulling off, like, mismatched, like, Christmas socks and, like, different, like, random shit. And she's, like, trying to make herself look presentable.
And they have this big pile of, like, fucking clothes. Yeah. And they go inside the party and they're like, yeah, you just put your coat in there. And it's not, well, it's not a coat. It's, like, a pile of clothing. Yeah,
he says, like, oh, you can put your jackets in there or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's, like, yeah, these are, like, fucking, like, pantyhose and, like, long johns and, like, different socks. And, yeah, it's really funny. But yeah, they go into where do they go, Evan? They go to the party.
Yeah, and that's when the I'm gonna keep calling him the American Psycho guy, the charismatic American Psycho guy.
Yeah.
He sees Joe and he's like, oh, okay. He sees a beautiful young woman, and he starts making his move.
And he's like, you're her sister.
And I forgot what Carl was doing at that point. Was he just putting the jackets away?
Well, remember the part he gets like trapped behind the speaker.
That happens later though.
Oh, that happens later.
I
mean, he's putting the jackets away for a second, and then he's like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend Carl." He like,
yeah, okay, I know exactly what happened.
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, she introduces him to that guy. I think you see her caught off guard a little bit because you already tell like, oh, she's kind of taken to him. And then Carl sees the guy who taught him. I forgot where he said he went to school. It was like some fancy school.
He says, I remember what he says. He says, for the one class I took at Cambridge.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what he says.
And Carl wants to stop him because he's like, oh yeah, it's like his hero or whatever. And he chases him down. And this is the moment I was mentioning earlier. So he chases him down, and then he sees them, and he finally stops him. They're outside. He's like, I forgot what he says, the guy's name is. It doesn't matter. He stops him. He's like, hey, it's me, Carl, remember? And the professor, or the writer, whatever, I guess he's a professor too, he just looks at him, and he immediately gets in the taxi and drives off. And that kind of fucked Carl up. But I mentioned that earlier because it's like, oh, I think that kind of speaks to how maybe overbearing Carl is too. You know what I mean? Because like this dude sees him. I think he did recognize him.
Probably from like even he knew who he was before.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like I think he maybe like knew it was Carl like in the elevator or like in the party.
Oh yeah, when he chased him.
But he was just avoiding him.
Yeah.
Like intentionally.
Because I feel like if it was just some random guy calling his name, he'd be like, who are you? You know what I mean?
Like what? Yeah.
So it's very clear that he knows who he is. And he actively chooses to like avoid him. I don't know. I thought that was funny as fuck though when he looks at him and then he gets inside the taxi.
He doesn't really emote like at all.
Yeah.
He just looks at Carl. There's like one beat and then he just like gets in the car and like he's like driving.
And he like slammed the door and the taxi drives off. That moment was a little bit sad to me though because you see sad. Like he's like fucked up when he comes back. He's pretty
crushed by it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too because he says to Joe like so nicely. He's like, "Oh, I really want you to meet him."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sad. And then she's off like cheating now, kind of.
Well, yeah, she's like they're like starting to flirt heavy.
Getting ready.
Every time you see her with the American Psycho guy, and then this is, I forgot what they're talking about in that exact moment. But I guess she's trying to sound like, I don't want to say she's trying to sound intelligent, but she like brings up the aristocracy thing.
I think what happens there is I feel like Joe and Carl have probably argued about that before, and she wasn't really able to articulate herself.
What they do earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
Remember? Wait, because she's like, well, what about the poor people? Because he brings up the aristocracy.
Oh yeah, and she's like, the working class like love working, like
yeah. So he kind of like he's like, yeah, the middle class, they strive for everything is mediocre in American society because what he says in democracy kind of is aimed for mediocrity and like the middle class. I forgot exactly what he said, but he kind of against the middle class even existing.
He kind of says like the way society is like headed towards the middle class. Like everything leads to the middle class,
and everything is, and so the way he sees it, everything is like mediocrity and kind of like living life mundanely.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, without meaning. And I don't know, maybe he has a point. That's kind of how American life is. Everything's a bit meaningless.
But what I like about that scene, though...
But I don't agree with his solution, though. But anyways, continue what you're saying.
What I like about that scene, though, is not so much like the actual politics of it, but I like that Joe... Part of why Joe, I think, likes that guy is because while Carl was gone, they kind of get to talking about whatever, like, the middle class shit, whatever. And then I think she's kind of excited by the fact that she's found someone that can, like, articulate her side better than she could.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And I don't think it's even like, oh, like, the man can explain it better. I don't think it's that. It's because he's just more educated than Joe or Carl.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just better educated, so she's found someone that can actually, like, help articulate her point. And she's, like, kind of happy to see Carl, like, retreat a little bit.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
That was good.
I don't know about the whole politics of it, but I just like that exchange is really good.
Oh, I was gonna say he's like, yeah, he believes like, oh, this society should be an aristocracy. Did I say it right? Or
aristocracy?
Yeah, did I say it right? No, that's not right.
Yeah.
Did I? Okay, whatever. Yeah, so the aristocrats should lead society, and will be led with art and culture or whatever he's saying. Like, and it's like the working class will still work, but
they love it.
They love it. I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, the way he's like, oh, like they're so worldly and they're so.
But I was like, I feel like he kind of has a point, a little bit, because he's like I feel like he's like the working class are very connected to like the earth and like religion and things like that, and work has more meaning to them. I was like, I kind of agree with that, versus like the middle class.
I don't know.
Personally, I agree with that.
Let me Google what the other guy said.
Maybe because I come from working class, but that's how I kind of agree with that.
We all come from working class.
Well, I don't know.
And no one likes it.
No, I just like.
No, that's not true. Some people do. No, it reminds me of we didn't talk about this actually. I watched Office Space.
Yeah.
It's like the ending of Office Space.
I was gonna say I'm not saying they should like. I just mean like where it has more meaning. You know what I mean? Versus like, I don't know.
Well, I guess there's more meaning in like building a building versus being like a pencil pusher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but so I don't really agree though with him there. It's like, oh, the rich aristocrats should lead society and there should be no middle class. I'm kind of like the opposite, where I'm like, oh, I feel like the working class should be in charge of everything. So, but he says that he is against communism. But anyway, if we don't have to get into a whole political thing. But the douchey American Psycho dude's like, oh, you really think that Democrats and Republicans are the same? Well, I feel that way. I agree with you, Carl. They're the same. Fuck them.
Yeah, I agree. So, like I said, I don't really like...
That's why I say he's like this like rich neoliberal dude. He's like where he's more like blue wave type of thing. Like, oh, Democrats, you know what I mean? Where it's like, no, they're both the fucking same.
Yeah.
It's not simplistic. That is how it is.
Yeah, I don't like really... I don't know what the fuck to think about the politics of that scene, but I do agree with Carl. Like, both sides are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I think that it's just rigged. Like,
yeah.
The whole Democrat-Republican shit is a huge trap. So I agree with Carl on that.
Yeah, and so you see where I'm saying, like, oh, this dude is, like, he's a rich white dude, so obviously it's easy for him to be like, oh, you really think Republicans and Democrats are the same? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, no matter what, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, yeah. Like, who cares what side you pick?
Yeah.
Like,
but if we don't have to get into all the politics of it, I just wanted to point that out because I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
But like you said, I feel like he articulates it so well versus Carl, where it's like he comes off as very convincing, and she likes that.
That's what I really like about the scene.
Yeah.
It's just she's so happy to see someone get one over on Carl.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Just in like a character sense too. So that's a really good scene.
Yeah.
It's a really good exchange. And so I guess I don't think they show it, but she leaves her purse.
Yeah.
So she leaves her purse.
Because they leave the party because, I guess it's like, oh, we get where the lady who's having her book, like, published. Carl goes up to get a drink and he gets stuck up there. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, they kind of, like, she's giving a speech and then, like, he goes up and she's giving a speech, like, in front of the drinks.
Yeah.
and he kind of, like, can't get them to move.
Yeah, but it's like, he can't just be like, oh, sorry, and get out of the way, because it's like, oh,
he's going to interrupt them.
We're all here, we're supposed to be here for her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll kind of break his cool, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, they leave, they're like, yeah, Lewis wasn't there. But she forgot her purse. Oh, no.
Or did she?
And Carl's like, yeah, I'll go up and get it. She's like, no, I got it.
Yeah, and that's interesting, too, because she gets mad about him kind of doing everything for the mother.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you've been doing everything all day.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it. Which is like, damn, bitch, you slick.
Yeah, she goes up to go get her purse. And, of course, American Psycho is waiting for her.
Uh-oh.
This scene, oh my god, he's like, you want to come check out this view in the bedroom? And she's like, yeah, sure. And she said, what view? He's like, yeah, whatever. And he just starts making out. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, when
I'm like, damn, this dude got game for real. She just goes with it. I'm like, god damn.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, that was the moment when I was like, oh god, like, this guy is an American Psycho.
Yeah,
This dude's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they start making out. But she kind of, to her credit, she does stop him. And she's like, oh, I gotta go, like, they're waiting for me downstairs. But she did take down his phone number. Oh.
Well, he wrote it down.
Well, yeah, she wrote it in his book.
This dude's had time for something new.
Yeah, she did when he looks at that. I was like, Jesus.
That hurts.
I was like, oh, I know to Carl, I'm like, oh, that
hurts.
It really does. Poor guy.
I was like, dude, you're old as hell. Leave this bitch alone.
For real. Women like established older gentlemen. Well,
yeah.
Carl will be there one day. He'll get to it one day.
Yeah.
You know.
One day he'll steal someone else's
No, you know
bitch.
what? She's gonna break his heart, and that's gonna lead to him like becoming that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Barney.
Yeah. So
Barney and Him.
we're just witnessing his origin story.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course. When he went the hippie.
Yeah, he was a hippie.
His heart broken.
He gets his heart broken, and he has like a Darth Vader transformation.
Yeah.
Him is awesome.
It is.
We should do a full review of the entire show.
Yeah.
On RNS.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Him. I feel like most people are going to be him, you know what I mean? So let me just clarify. Yeah, but also, so while that was happening, though, the party thing, there was, the dad is like, oh, do you guys want to go get something to eat? And the mom's like, why didn't you think of that an hour ago? You know, because they're assuming at this point they're going to come down from the party soon. Which they did, but, like, this was happening while that was all happening. And the dad at that point, he's kind of tired of the mom just like bossing around. He just gets up and goes for a walk, and Liza follows him. And it's a kind of a sweet moment because you finally see the dad gain some dialogue. He doesn't talk at all for a majority of the movie. And he's helping that lady out, so we can talk about the sister now.
She's famous, right?
Who?
That lady moving her groceries. She's like a famous character actress. I forget her name.
Oh,
I don't know her name.
I don't know who she is.
Oh, okay. Well, she's famous. She's like, is she the principal on iCarly? She might be.
No, that wasn't her.
No?
No.
Oh. Well, I know her from something.
But anyways, yeah, so did you want to talk about this part? The sister thing.
Of course I do.
What did you have to say, Dylan?
What did I have to say?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Evan.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what I got to say, Evan. So, yeah, the dad kind of just starts walking around. He's kind of looking in the windows. He just wants to, get away from the mom for a little bit and just walk around. And, yeah, the mom is also like, yeah, she's a bitch, but because she's like, hey, you're gonna leave me in here, I'm gonna fucking freeze. And he's just like, damn, bitch. He just wants to go. He goes on a walk. He's doing some like window shopping. He's just taking a look around to get a breath of fresh air. And then I guess he rounds a corner and Liza's like following him. And then by the time
it's sweet, she's like, oh, thank you for driving us around all day, Dad.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah. Which is, that's like thoughtful. That endeared me to Liza as well because it's like, she's not like entitled to that.
Yeah,
like
for
she's
sure.
you know, she appreciates it. And also it kind of makes up for the mom being like, why didn't you turn at that fucking red light? And like, he just kind of gets shit on all the time.
You know what's funny? You're saying that though. I have another Breaking Bad connection, but we could get into it. Well, can I just mention now since you're saying that with that dad? Yeah, the dad doesn't get so like you said he kind of getting shit on for most of the movie, and he's not getting a lot of appreciation. It reminded me in Breaking Bad, when Gus first shows Walt the lab.
And Walt says, "Thank you, Daddy."
No, he didn't say thank you. Yes, he does, actually. No, Walt turns it down. But Gus kind of convinces him to keep going, but he tells him, like... Because Walt says he's losing his family, that's why he can't keep doing this. And Gus is like, do you know what a man does? A man provides for his family, even if they hate him. Even if they lose, even if they don't love him. You know, even if they don't respect him, a man provides. Remember Gus tells Walt that? That kind of reminded me of that just now. So I was like, oh, well, there you go.
It's a thankless job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very sweet, and that kind of makes you like her even more. Because like I said, too, there's a lot of people that if they're in emotional distress or some kind of distress, they don't feel a need to be thankful because they kind of feel entitled to help.
Yeah.
But she's still like, well, even though we're trying to figure out, like, my husband might be cheating on me or whatever, like, I still appreciate you just taking the time to drive us around. Yeah,
I think she's never like.
No, she's a good.
Yeah. She's a great character.
She's a good person.
Yeah. She's a good person.
And whoever the actress is lovely.
Yeah. I think her name's Hope Davis. I'm not sure what else she's been in, but
she conveys like, I guess we'll get into that later. But the emotions she's able to convey are very impressive.
Yeah.
And very they're pretty deep feeling type emotions. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, she goes and...
But I think her demeanor, though, she is kind of like... Whereas she is, like, completely the opposite of the mom, I feel like it does kind of lead to maybe that trouble she does have with Louis. For kind of, like... I don't want to say she's, like... She's more, like, susceptible to being, like, pushed around, I feel. Like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's very passive versus the mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
Maybe that's the connection to
it kind of leads, I feel like that kind of maybe leads to Louis doing what he does, like, because she's passive, so he can kind of just, like, walk all over her.
Well, I
don't think he does that necessarily, because we can get into, like, the morality of Louis and that big... But do you kind of get where I'm going with this line of thought?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think that also could connect back to the first...
Where I feel like the mom has the husband, like, she has, like, his ass in shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's, like, it's the opposite with Liza. But anyways, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. I think that could connect back to that father-son couple that we meet, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the son is a little bit like Liza, and they're the one that kind of...
have that connection.
They have that
for a moment.
Yeah, where he shares like the truth about him and everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe she's thinking about like, oh, what is the truth about my mom? I don't fucking know, but yeah, there is a bit of a parallel between them, I guess. But yeah, so this next wacky little family, they meet. So the dad is kind of helping that woman with her moving stuff.
Yeah.
And then Liza says like, oh, he has a bad back, I'll help you with that, that TV. So she goes upstairs, and there's this kind of like these old bickering sisters that are kind of like rifling.
They're super New York.
Yeah, like they're very...
It reminds me of the nanny.
Yeah, like they're from Flushing.
Yeah.
They're very much what you would expect. They're like very like tacky kind of like older women.
Yeah.
That are kind of just arguing about like taking the stuff from their mom's old house.
Yeah. Because the mom passed away.
Yeah, their mom passed away, and they're kind of like dividing up their stuff. And she's like, "Oh well, I get the Advil with codeine." You remember that?
Pills,
you remember that? That was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
I would have been like, "No, that's mine."
You can have the TV. I'll have the Advil with codeine. That'll keep me entertained. But yeah, that part is very interesting.
Yeah, but you were saying about the parallel with the sisters. I was just interested to hear what you wanted to say about that.
Well, I don't have like a very concise idea about it, but it just seems like...
I agree with you. It's not like entirely clear cut, I think.
No, there's no like one-to-one. In a lot of movies, they'll be like... It's like a Batman villain, where like the supporting characters are like all dark reflections of the protagonist, or like they're like one-to-one comparisons to other relationships in them. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like you have these like kind of shitty... Well, then I won't say they're shitty.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't feel like we know them enough to say they're shitty.
But they are kind of like inconsiderate.
Yeah, of her time, because it's like a stranger.
They're inconsiderate of her time because they're just sitting there arguing about pills while she's trying to like, okay, let's get the TV and fucking go. And they don't even consider like, what is she going through today?
Yeah, for sure.
Her fucking husband is cheating on her, which, you know, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And like the fucking dad is downstairs, and she never says like thank you or please or anything. Like they're very, and it kind of like juxtaposes that like right after she's very sweet to her dad. She's like, well, thank you, Dad, for driving me around today.
Yeah.
And then there's this woman that's like kind of just taking advantage of her and is like, help me with the fucking TV. And just the fact that those two sisters are like, they seem so unbothered by their mother being dead. Yeah. And they're not worried about any sentimental value anything has. They're just like, well, I get the TV and I get the shoes and you get the paintings. Yeah. And like, but I want the codeine. And they're very unbothered by their mother's death. And they're kind of like, they're not very considerate to each other, like I said, or to Liza. And I think no matter what you think of Joe or Liza, like, they're very sweet sisters to each other, and I fucking love the ending where it takes you in a few moments after this. So it just kind of juxtaposes, like, their relationship, where it's, like, they just seem so jaded and, like, unbothered.
Yeah.
And very little emotion outside of just, like, they're just, like, worried about like, okay, I want this stuff and let's get out of here, and they're kind of just like slightly pissed off, and I don't know. It's the nice juxtaposition between the main sisters. Like I said, even though Joe isn't like, she doesn't do anything like super wrong, I guess, Joe, but she's not like painted in the greatest light. But
yeah.
She does have a warm relationship
with her. She certainly did less wrong than Lewis.
For sure. That is kind of the biggest thing in the movie. You know how I was like, oh, the Batman villain thing, where it's like, oh, these juxtapose this?
Yeah.
That's the closest thing you have, I think, in the movie.
Yeah.
Because you can compare Joe, and we'll get into this in a minute, because I kind of have more to say about this than, like, that scene with her helping him move the TV. But, yeah, the Joe, Carl, Elizabeth Lewis kind of thing, and there's obviously comparisons to be made there, so we'll get into that in a moment.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just an interesting, like, maybe if they had like a worse relationship, or if they had a more bitter relationship, or maybe if they both had turned out more like their mother. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that I could see that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I really got to say about that scene. The woman's kind of a bitch.
I agree.
And there you go.
So yeah, but we could go back to it. So yeah, Lewis and Carl, they leave. Lewis and Carl, what am I talking about? Lewis. Joe and Carl, they leave the party. She got the purse back. She made out with that dude. He wrote
his number in her address book or whatever.
And then after that, I think they go to Sandy's apartment for the after party. I forgot, how did they know there's going to be the party where Lewis is at? No, because Lewis called. Or I forgot, like, she was listening to, like, the voice, like, I don't know how she did it. She's on the payphone. But she listened to, like, her voicemail at home or something. Was that it?
I don't know.
Do you remember what I'm talking about? That's how she knows Lewis is at the apartment, at Sandy's apartment. But anyways, they go to that party afterwards. And this time she goes up by herself and they're there. And before we get into the party, though, do you want to talk about that scene with Joe where she goes out of the car? to get to the payphone.
Yeah,
so let's talk about that first before we talk about Sandy's party.
What they're doing at that point is, I guess they're just calling the machine at home to try and find Lewis. Right?
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, well, I'm going to go call and see if I can get a hold of him. And then Lisbeth, I think, is at that point, like, still...
Liza.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about fucking Girl with the Dragon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she's still helping with the TV, or she's still with the dad or something at this point.
Oh, I was saying after she had found out they were at the party, and they go, and she goes upstairs, and then Joe goes to talk on the phone.
Right, yeah, so she's upstairs.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then she goes to call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so she secretly calls the man from the party.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, I like meeting you, and I like talking to you. Sorry, that was probably too quiet. But yeah, she's talking to the guy, and then Carl kind of sees, like...
He followed her.
Yeah, he followed her. He didn't hear what she said, but he was like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I was calling the machine. And he was like, you were talking to the machine.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to lie. And it's a very emotional moment where Carl realizes, like, she was talking to the guy from the party, and he was like, oh, you left your purse in there on purpose, didn't you? And it's a very sad little moment.
Yeah, and then the mom comes in.
Further events.
Because they start arguing at that point, right?
Yeah, they're pretty much arguing, and
the mom comes, and she's seen Carl depressed, and
she's completely on Carl's side.
Yeah, she does not. So this is, even though Joe was wrong, it's like, it feels so fucked up that the mom kind of immediately sides against her own daughter. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So she's with him right away. She's like, what did you do wrong? She's like, what did you do to him? And she's like, please don't mess up the one good thing you have in your life.
The one good thing you ever did for yourself, or something like that.
I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. I'm like, that makes me go back more on her side. You know what I mean? It's
Joe.
Like, yeah. Because it's like, why do you treat her like that?
That's kind of the first thing. That's like, not the first thing. That's pertinent to kind of what I took away from the whole movie. And it's kind of one of the first instances of it, I guess. I don't know. But in my opinion, Evan, okay, I'm going to get into my Dylan philosophy.
Okay.
If you mind.
I'm ready.
I think there's an aspect of, for me, of, I don't know, I just believe family and friends come first, you know?
Yeah.
Family and friends come first. And I have a friend, and one time his girlfriend, like, it wasn't like out of nowhere. I wasn't being like a crazy American Psycho type person, but I was like, I will never side with you. Like, I will literally always be on his side, like my friend.
Yeah.
Like, not his girlfriend. Like, I'll be like, there will never be a time. They were asking me like some hypothetical, like, oh, like if I cheated, would you tell him, like, or would you tell her, or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, I will literally always be on his side. There's no way. So that's kind of what I believe, you know, like,
yeah.
If it's Terry versus someone, I'm on Terry's side, my aunt, like my grandma, my mom, you, or any of my friends. So I think that kind of, the mom being on Carl's side, even though Carl is a good guy, it's wrong. I read that.
I don't know if I entirely agree, but
like you said,
I think it was fucked up what she was like, how she kind of turns on her daughter like that. But I don't know if I entirely agree where it's like, you should always side with family. I kind of feel like the movie is a little bit saying the opposite of that.
I think
there's more like a balance kind of aspect.
No, I
like
agree
a balance
with you.
Between your personal life and your family life.
But I feel like what happens with the sisters at the end is like a balance. Like, I feel like the mom being so mean to Joe,
yeah,
and like taking Carl's side, that just feels like wrong to me. And then the way that, like, the sisters kind of comfort each other at the end, even though they both have a lot going on. Like, obviously they kind of, Liza just got cheated on, Joe just kind of cheated on Carl, not really, but kind of.
Do you mind if I take the phone? He can call me, I don't know why.
Yeah, go ahead.
What were we saying though?
We were just talking about Joe and Liza.
Sorry, RNS listeners, I had a disturbance.
Yeah, there was another classic family disturbance on RNS Podcast. But yeah, so I was just saying, like, the mom not siding with her, but then her sister, who has, like, I don't know, I feel like at the end,
she kind of gets the opposite, where she does get the support from her mom, but again, she was on the other receiving
end of cheating.
Yeah. And that's why I mean, so it seems like it's trying to say there should be some kind of, because she kind of gets annoyed by how overbearing her mother is there, to the point where she's like, no, you can't even talk to Lewis, you know what I mean, or whatever. And she's like, you're like a son to me, or whatever. We'll get to that in a minute. But I know just now I was saying, like, so it seemed kind of weird for me saying, like, oh, kind of wrong how she did Joe, and then immediately after be like, oh, I feel like it's not entirely wrong. But I feel like there is an aspect of the movie where it's like there should be kind of a balance between
either way,
your lives you live.
Either way, what the mom is doing is too much.
Yeah, exactly.
In both scenarios.
Yes, exactly.
But what I like is, I don't know, the sisters seem to have a very healthy relationship.
Yeah.
They don't really have that much time together in the movie, but I really like the ending because it's like, it's very real. They both have very distinct, like similar but distinct problems going on, mm-hmm. and they're still there for each other in like a very real kind of way.
Yeah.
Versus the mom is like very performative, and she's kind of like, she's going against Joe. She's trying to be there for Liza when it's not the kind of support that Liza really wants.
Yeah.
But then they're like there for each other in the right kind of ways for both of them at the end.
So I feel like you're kind of agreeing with what I took away from the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like the balanced kind of thing. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
there's a balance, but I also think like,
I feel like that's not a great way to word it, but
you get what I'm even though Liza just got cheated on, she's still kind of on Joe's side, even though she just cheated on someone. Yeah. And that's kind of what just made her upset, is getting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even though there's this weird gray area, mm-hmm. like, it doesn't matter because they're family, so they're both there for each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. Which I guess that's a good segue to even talk about Liza being cheated on, because we didn't talk about that at all.
Big reveal.
Yeah.
We say big reveal.
Big reveal. At the party, there's something very weird that happens during the party, by the way.
The drunk girl? Or...
Yeah, she drugs her, and you don't really ever see what happens with that.
Who drugs? The girl in the red?
Yeah, she drugs Liza.
Really?
Yeah. When she's pouring the drink for her, she pours it, and she looks away, and she throws something in the drink really quick.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I think you see the effects of it a little bit when she goes and catches Lewis, because you see it start getting kind of blurry.
Really?
From her point of view. Yeah. Yeah, I promise you. Like, we can look at
I didn't notice.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. That's insane.
But anyways, yeah, so Liza goes up to the party, and she just kind of starts chit-chatting with this random girl who's, like, upset. There's a guy at the party who she's obsessed with, who she had sex with, I guess, 11 months ago. And,
11 months, 18 days.
Yeah, 11 months and 18 days. And she's, like, looking for him. Well, she's not looking for him. She knows he's there, but she's trying to
get his attention.
Yeah, uh-huh. And she starts chatting up with Liza and see, like, oh, is he looking at me? And she pours her a drink, and then you see for a second she drugs her.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I promise. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of the character again. Again, it's another, like, kind of random character where it's, like...
Very strange.
Yeah. Maybe it's saying something about obsessiveness. I don't know. I don't feel like... For the most part, none of the characters are, like, overly obsessive. But we see this particular character is, like, obsessed with this man who clearly does not give a fuck about her.
Yeah, because all the relationships are very mutual in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, except hers.
But anyways, and then eventually she sees the woman from the photos who she believes is Sandy. And she finds out this is not Sandy. Sandy's up on the roof.
Yeah, she hears, like, a different name.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's not Sandy.
Yeah. And then she finds out Sandy's up on the roof from, I think, the lady in the red dress.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes up there. And this scene starts out kind of sweet. Because you see Lewis is, like, dancing up there like Spanish music.
That's a really sad moment.
Yeah, because she's, like,
That's
happy.
a really sad moment because... She's... Okay, so this kind of explains, I guess, too, like, why she takes a pause there, because I guess she's high.
Yeah, and like so you see like it's like blurry,
and it's a little blurry. It's very like
yeah.
And the scene,
and she only had one drink, so you can't assume like she's like fucked up.
Yeah, she's not super drunk or anything, and you can tell by the way she's like just acting. She's not like super drunk. So that's interesting that she's like drugged there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's a very visual moment too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very well realized. Like there's a lot of like different scenes of like the crowd like moving and like but specifically like Lewis is dancing with a cigarette, like smoking.
Yeah.
And she's like she's like happy to see him.
Yeah, yeah.
She just like smiles to herself and she's happy, and it kind of, if she is drugged, it kind of explains why she's just sitting there watching him.
But it brings me back to like what you're saying about at the beginning of the movie. It's like they seem very happy with each other. You can tell she really does love him. You know what I mean? Yes. So it's like that's why it's like, oh, it's so shocking that he's like cheating on her or whatever.
So basically and it's not even like that. So I didn't notice the drug thing until you just told me about it. It's not like her sitting there watching him is like weird or anything. It's like not weirdly long or anything. But it kind of could elevate the rest of the movie in the sense of like, oh well, she's high, so she's like even more in the moment.
It's like a sensory overload.
Yeah, she's like even more in the moment and shit like that. So, but yeah, so he's like beautifully dancing, smoking his cigarette, and he looks like Ted from Scrubs, if you know Ted from Scrubs.
I don't know who that is.
And God rest his soul.
Was never a big Scrubs fan.
Oh, that's.
Well, rest in peace to that guy.
That's a shame. But yeah, rip Ted. But yeah, so and then he kisses a man.
Yeah.
He kisses Sandy.
It's Sandy.
Oh my. Sandy's a boy.
And Sandy sees her, so he knows who she is.
Mm.
Yeah. Sandy sees her, and he kind of warns Lewis, I guess, and he sees her, and then Liza runs down. Lewis chases after her, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?"
He's like, "Oh, are you mad I went to the party?"
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm mad you're kissing men on the roof.
Yeah. And then she runs out. And then he keeps chasing her, and the whole family's there. He's like, "What the fuck?" Like,
he's like, "What the fuck is this?"
You brought your entire family. And then Sandy comes down, and then that's when they like, they kind of get the picture.
Yeah, the family kind of gathers that.
And the mother has like even harsher reaction then when she realizes, it's like.
Yeah, what she says is like so. It's like Jesus. She's like, "Oh, does your mother know? How could you do this to your mother?"
And he says like, "No, my mother doesn't know. I'm a grown man." And that kind of goes back to what we were saying a little bit, I think, about like keeping that. I don't know. Do they need to be in on everything? I don't know, you know what I mean? Because he says, like, no, I'm a grown man, my mother does not know, or whatever. But should she know? I don't know. Anyways.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, and they're kind of, like, so the mom's trying to she takes Liza back in the car, and they all go in. And they're like, we need to get out of here, like, fuck Lewis. Well, the mom is mostly on that. And the dad, that's when the dad kind of asks her, like, "Oh, do you want to leave or do you want to go talk to Lewis?" So he kind of stands up for himself there in that moment too, because he's like, finally, like, I'm not gonna let the mom call all the fucking shots.
He kind of stands up for all of them.
Yeah.
For like against the mom for a moment. And he's like, well, like you don't do everything. Like, like what do you want to do, Liza? It's a very sweet moment.
I agree.
Because he, like you said, he kind of does stand up for himself, but I really like that he kind of takes a moment. He's like, well, this is for her well-being. Like. Is important.
Like you said, for like everybody, it's like for him and it's for them as well.
Yeah. So he's kind of like, well, this is an important moment for her. Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to get the fuck out of this car.
Yeah.
And then she goes and talks to him again.
And that's what I mean, though. Is like she had kind of a similar reaction that Joe had, except for the mom being on her side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like just too overbearing. It's too much on both sides.
It's too much either way. Yeah.
Because she still wants to kind of hear Lewis's side. And he doesn't make like a great case for himself.
He does not.
Yeah, but I think this is an interesting scene to talk about. So she just kind of starts acting like, "Yeah, are you in love with this person?" He's just like, "I don't know." He kind of saying, "I don't know" to everything. And he says he lies though. At first he's like, she's like, "How long have you been like having sex with this person?" And he's like, "Oh, 6 months."
No, I like December. I like the way it escalates because. She's like, "Oh, do you love this person?" And he's like, "I don't know." She's like, "Have you had sex with this person?" And he's like, "Yes." And he's like, "How long has it been going on?" And he's like, 6 months. He's like, since like December, and she's like, that's a year, Lewis. And that was great. And then I guess earlier it kind of establishes the time frame too, when that woman is like, oh, like I hooked up with that guy like 11 months, 18 days ago.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because it was like, because this is still technically in November, so it hasn't it's been 11 months.
In 18 days?
Yeah, I don't know, 18 days, but yeah.
So
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe they met at the last party or something.
It's certainly a possibility. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's it kind of escalates where she's questioning him. And her acting in the scene is really good.
I agree. And so this is the part where I was like, oh, okay, so he kind of comes off like a complete douchebag here. Because she asks him, like, are you gay? And he's like, I don't know. He keeps like saying, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. You had to help me figure it out. And
she's like, I have to help you?
Yeah, so it's like, okay, like, what the fuck? Why does she have to help you figure out your shit? You know what I mean?
I thought that was, like, for me, that whole exchange was, like, super real.
He is a piece of shit.
He is. No,
yeah.
He is. But I think I've definitely had moments in my life where I've been both sides of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody.
But, like, there's definitely been times in my life when I've been in the wrong, but I still feel like I need help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's like,
but the way he's mean. He kind of like puts it on her.
Yeah.
Even though he was the one fucking up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even though he's fucking like cheating for a year.
Yeah.
Super fucked.
He's like, you have to help me.
You have to help.
Yeah. It's like, what? No, fuck you.
Yeah, because it'd be one thing if he was like, you know, like, I don't know, I'm sorry, like, we can work through this together, like, but he's like, you have to help me.
Yeah, like, I felt, like, I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad for him, because, like, clearly he's, like, confused, but it's, like, the way he, like, reacts to that, or, well, he's already lying about it, which is bad, and he's married.
Well, he wasn't expecting to get busted, and he was, like, defensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So that felt real,
so
too.
The way he turns on her, that show's, like, really wrong.
Yeah, that felt like really real though. Like you get busted and you're like defensive.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But I wanted to mention her acting in this scene is so like, it's so good because it feels so like there's like an adrenaline to it and there's like it just feels like super emotionally heightened.
I agree. And then you got to think about the drug thing on top of that.
And the drugs as well.
Yeah.
But even that aside, like,
yeah.
Because like I said, I didn't notice that the first time I watched it, but there's just like a certain feeling in the air at the end where there's like maybe like if you've ever had like a big family fight in your real life or anything, it feels a lot like that. It's like one of the closest I've seen to
I
that,
agree.
Like
I 100% agree.
A ton going on and everyone's
it all
like
feels
emotions
very real.
are heightened. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And one of the best bits of acting to me is like when she's questioning him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's so good. I don't know if you've ever been pissed at someone and like questioned them.
Yeah.
And tried to like be calm about it, and I don't know, like that's so good.
Yeah. I feel like like she was, even though she was wronged, it's like she still kind of took the more reasonable approach, and then he's the one who kind of snaps.
Yeah.
Which is like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, she's only had one day to sit on this.
Yeah.
Like barely, and she was like in denial for half of it.
Yeah.
And damn, crazy. So. I think after she has that exchange with Lewis, when he's like, "Well, I need you to help me,"
yeah,
and he's like, "I need to help you," and then she kind of just walks off, right?
Yeah.
And then this made me cry. So, I love the sisters so much. Just when she's like, "Where's Joe going?"
Yeah.
Or Joe is like, "Where's Liza going?" And then she gets out of the car, immediate cry. I don't know, just like how this is all like so heightened and so not dramatic in like a movie way.
Yeah.
Dramatic in like a real life way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very very heightened, very dramatic, very emotional, and everyone kind of has their own shit going on, especially Joe and Liza, and just the fact that they kind of like. I don't know. She just kind of turns off like what's wrong, what's bothering her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check on her."
Yeah, and also you get right there in that moment too, kind of I don't even know, because it's so weird. It's like, it's not reconciliation between her and Carl. It feels like more like kind of like a goodbye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though, obviously, it's not... She's going to see... When they come back in 20 minutes, you know what I mean? He's going to see her again. But do you know what I mean?
When they drive home. Yeah, it feels like one of those...
He's like, yeah, go... He's like, yeah, I'll keep your parents busy. He's like, yeah, you go get Eliza. And they kind of have, like, this hug. But it's like... It doesn't feel like, yeah, everything's good between us now. It's, like, kind of like... It feels like a goodbye to me.
Yeah,
Am I wrong?
It feels like a mutual breakup.
Yeah, right?
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was sad.
That was also very sad, but that was very good as well.
It was. That was a great moment.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it. Is it feels like they're mutually kind of breaking up.
Yeah.
And like they're both kind of being friendly about it.
Yeah.
They're
I agree.
Being like nice to each other.
Because I didn't see that as them like. Okay. No, I didn't see. Yeah. So that one kind of sad. And also, I forgot to mention this earlier when the mom is getting pissed at Joe, and she said, "Yeah, she's an idiot." Carl does even after Carl got wrong, he still stands up for her there, because he's like, "No, you're wrong. Like she's not useless. She's not an idiot or whatever."
Yeah.
He says to the mom. And the mom calls them both idiots when they're both in the car.
When? The daughters?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because Liza doesn't want to leave, and then Joe did whatever to Carl. She's like, I have two idiots for daughters.
Oh, right.
So it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and they're both going like through a super intense like bad moment, and then she's being like a huge bitch.
Yeah.
Damn. So yeah, I think it's kind of them rejecting kind of their mother's like toxic kind of love.
Yeah.
And they're there for each other. And it's a very beautiful moment.
It is, yeah. So Joe goes after it and they just
I ship them.
You ship two sisters?
Yeah, I ship the sisters.
Oh, okay.
They should be together. That's what I learned.
Well, they walk off together just hugging and the movie ends there. They're both kind of like emotional.
Beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Beautiful moment.
And that's how the movie ends, so it ends on a very somber note.
I think it's a more happy note maybe than you do, Evan. I love that moment.
No, it's a good moment, yeah, for sure. Like it's like, oh, they have each other, but it's like, what of their relationships now? You know, outside of them having each other. You know what I mean?
I mean, fucking Joe's about to like bankroll the whole family because her new boyfriend's.
Oh
like
yeah,
a rich,
yeah. Okay, never mind. You know, there's a great
happy ending. Happy ending.
Liza will find some great new husband.
Yeah. Like she'll just go to like the new company mixer and she'll like, oh damn.
You know, it's a happy ending.
Yeah, I have super happy ending.
Carl became a famous philosopher.
Yeah, like outside. Yeah, he's the new Socrates somewhere. Yeah. He's Mike Judge.
He's Mike Judge.
Yeah.
There you go.
In 1 year, he makes Beavis and Butthead and makes $1 billion, and everything turned out good. He made BoJack Horseman actually.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, it was a great movie, and I think it's a little more of a happy ending to me, just because it's like they're at their lowest moment, but it's like, you know, they had people there for them.
Yeah. Well, they have each other, very specifically.
Yeah.
So that's sweet.
Very beautiful, sweet moment. I like it.
I agree, and I think maybe it could have. Because you mentioned this earlier, maybe it could have been helped a bit if you did see more interaction between the two sisters throughout the movie.
I remember what they did have, though, together.
It was good.
It was good,
They do have that moment on the bench where they're talking earlier. And she's asking her about Michigan or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and they're talking about, like, safe sex or something.
Yeah. Well, she tells Joe to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she told her sister, so it's like, oh, yeah, you know, obviously, you be safe.
Yeah, it's a cute moment. And then they have like a nice interaction like when they get to the house or whatever in the beginning of the movie. Or that, or whatever. So
I'm just saying maybe there could have been a bit more of that.
Yeah, because it winds up being like kind of the crux of the movie.
Yeah.
Like kind of the big moment is between them. So it's like, but I guess also I think
they are the ones both going through shit though in the movie.
Yes. So I was gonna say the reason it might have hit so hard is because they were like so fleshed out separately.
Yeah.
And then they kind of come back together at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So that was very effective. So I think, you know, a good enough balance. I guess.
For that it works. I'm not saying this is like bad or anything. No. It definitely works. I'm just saying, like, oh, how could have this been maybe better? I don't know. But it's still a great ending.
Yeah, I honestly would have liked to see more of them interacting.
Yeah.
Because I really like their relationship, and I really like both characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Daytrippers 2.
Daytrippers 2, it's coming.
Daytrippers 2 win.
Yeah. It's coming next year. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the movie.
3 out of 3 stars.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dylan. I would give it an 8 out of 10. The first time I saw it, I had given it a 9, but on my second viewing, I was like, yeah, this is like an 8 for me.
I liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah.
It made me have
a good movie.
A big cry.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's always good. Nothing wrong with that.
If a movie makes me cry, excuse me, there's part of me that's like, I can't deny that this movie is good, like in some way. I remember... I
don't know if I agree with that. I personally...
If you can effectively, like, make someone...
It's definitely good, though. If a movie can make you cry, that's always great. But I don't know if it's always good. Because I feel like maybe just a specific moment can hit you.
That's true.
But I don't know.
But at the same time...
I'm just playing devil's advocate, Dylan.
Usually, but the thing is, like, I don't cry, like... For me, personally, when I do cry, I don't cry at, like, one scene. I usually cry at, like, the end of the movie.
I get that, because it would have to be, like...
Towards...
Yeah, exactly. It would have to, like, the rest of it would have to have been resonant with you. For you to even cry in that moment.
At least for me.
Yeah. No. You're right.
So, if it can make me cry, or if it can make me kind of, like, have a really, what's the word? Like, I don't know, like a big emotional response, or like a, potent...
I love crying during movies.
Me too.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I remember the first movie that, like, made me realize that I felt that way was The Heat.
See, this is why I said, actually, no, Dylan. It's not always good.
Because I was like, I wish I could tell you and Andy... Because I saw it with my family, or a family member or something. I think I saw it with my grandma and my mom. The Heat. Mm-hmm. It's a Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock. Okay, classic comedy duo.
Yeah, classic duo.
So we saw that together, and I remember, I knew you guys wouldn't like it or whatever, and then I watched it, and then I like cried at the ending, and I was like laughing at parts, and then like once the movie was over, and I was like, I can't lie and say I didn't like it because I did.
Well, there you go.
So yeah. That's like one of my big marks of approval, I guess. If it can make me cry, usually I think it's a good movie. But yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you all.
It's a great episode, great movie.
Oh, wait, Dylan, I forgot. Do you want to look at the IMDb trivia?
Sure.
Quick? Do you want to?
Special trivia moment.
Let's do it. The movie was filmed in 17 days on a $50,000 budget. Yeah, that sounds real. That sounds real.
I mean, we're getting a good gauge of like what the budgets look like. Because like Pink Flamingo was like 10,000,
and this is 50,000.
No, it was 2,000, wasn't it? Pink Flamingos?
No, it was like 10,000.
Was it 10,000?
Yeah, let's see.
And then I'd say this movie looks pretty good for its budget.
Yeah, I agree, but you can definitely tell it's
low budget. Yeah.
It was 12,000 Pink Flamingos. Budget. But this was 50,000. But this was also, how many years later? 24 years later?
Yeah.
According to director Greg Mottola, he had sent the script with someone who had a mutual friend with celebrated producer James L. Brooks with the hopes of getting it produced. But when Mottola was days away from production, he had gotten a call from Brooks, who liked the script and had notes, provided he would produce it and some role for recast. Mottola politely declined due to the film being set up to shoot and not wanting to go back on his word to the cast. Brooks inquired about the budget, and when Mottola told him, Brooks ended up mailing a check to Mottola to increase the budget and told Mottola to give him what the rest of the cast and the crew would take after the film made a profit. Well, good on you, James L. Brooks. While we're on producers, though, because I don't see this here, of course, Steven Soderbergh also produced this movie.
Epic man.
He's eclectic director, Steven Soderbergh. He was also kind of part of that whole 90s scene. He had started before this, so. And, he produced this movie, so there you go.
Epic.
This film is part of the Criterion Collection, Spine 1001. I do have that one.
So this is the 1001st Criterion movie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, badass.
Both Parker Posey and Liev Schreiber appear in Party Girl. Schreiber appear in Party Girl 1995, which was also filmed in New York City.
What's that?
I have not seen that one. Let's look.
I know Party Monster. You know who stars in Party Monster?
No, who's in that?
Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, nice. It's a movie of Parker Posey. There's a new librarian in town.
Oh, she is so beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
She's such a beautiful young woman.
So maybe I'll have to check that out sometime.
Oh, how about we watch it right now?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And the last thing they have is, like we said, this movie isn't pretty under the radar. So the last thing we have for trivia is director cameo, and I mentioned it to you at the beginning, Dylan. I had actually noticed this on my second viewing. You do see director Greg Mottola on the rooftop holding a cigarette.
How about that?
Yeah, so there you go.
You know, another Him connection that I noticed.
Yes.
Not really a connection, but the rooftop parties.
Rooftop parties.
Reminds me of Him.
I guess it's in New York then. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's kind of more of a New York thing than a How I Met Your Mother thing.
There you go.
There's some information, some fun facts. There's a review. Got a whole lot, heap and helping of content.
A lot of analysis, as always. Come to RNS for the analysis.
Not the most concise analysis this week, but
I thought we did pretty good. I thought it was good.
But the movie's not itself is just like doesn't lend itself, I think, to.
Yeah, because it's a bit like slice of life-ish. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Maybe if I was more educated, I could pull some fancy words out, but.
I don't think I feel like we had some pretty good analysis on this.
I think so. Yeah. It was kind of hard to articulate though, and whatever. But yeah, great movie, great podcast episode. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this episode.
Please
subscribe and click the bell, and we'll do another. What does that say?
What does what say?
Dope ass indie. We'll do another dope ass indie next week.
Yeah, you're choosing next week, Dylan. Any ideas?
Brown Bunny.
Oh, really?
No.
I was like, I guess we can do it next week.
No, I'll try and think of something. Maybe that Tom Cruise movie I want to watch.
Which one?
The one where he's the villain.
Oh, Collateral.
I kind of watch Collateral. That's on my list.
Oh, we could do that.
We'll think of something.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, we'll see you then.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you next time.